Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining the webinar on GFI. My name is Slava. We have some people with us. We have Aryeh. I will pass the microphone to him to talk a bit. Aryeh, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Aryeh Wolman. I'm the VP Sales of Multipoint. Multipoint is a value-added distributor. We provide solutions for data communication, data security, networking, backups, and some other stuff, including also technical support that we provide and cloud services as well. We are located in Kfar Saba. We represent quite a lot of valued vendors. GFI is one of us. We are distributing GFI for almost 8 years now, with a lot of customers in Israel, a lot of products, and good responses from them. I will pass the head to Joseph, who is the GFI representative and technical, and he will give us some explanation on one of their major products, which is LandGuard. LandGuard is a product that provides vulnerability management, patch management, and some other features. And it will be nice to hear from him what is going on.
Yeah, hello everyone. Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar. The topic of the webinar would be achieving an effective patch and vulnerability management system. So let's have a look on the agenda as we always do. So we'll go through the identify of network vulnerabilities, why they are important. We'll go through inventorying devices and vulnerabilities in your network, which is definitely a crucial part of the security. And then we'll have a short GFI LandGuard demo, and after that we'll jump into questions and answer section. So in 2019, the average breach was 25.57 records. So pretty much there was an increase of 3.9% comparing to the previous year. Each of the records which have been lost, they cost around $150 globally, which is, when you are thinking about it, not too much, but you need to understand that you are not losing a single record, you are losing multiple things. So if you are getting hacked and a hacker will steal from you, let's say 5 or 6 or 7 records, then it's already a decent amount of money. Due to current situation and the need of businesses to have remote workers, malware attacks are on the rise, which is definitely not a surprise because we are all using the VPNs, we are all using remote sessions and streaming media, doing VoIP calls, and pretty much everything is happening from our seats at our home. That means that a lot of data is being shared with people who don't really need it. Yeah, and of course there is no track with it because we are using our home equipment. So the point is that the valuable information can easily get loose on the market, and eventually it can get to the hackers who can then use it to exploit them and eventually hack someone. So pretty much 2,600 attacks were happening on the daily basis these times, which is quite a massive number when you are thinking about it. GFI LandGuard is able to help with a lot of kinds of attacks. On the screen we can see several attacks which is widely known to the public audience, like malicious code, web-based attacks, web application attacks, denial of service, phishing, exploit kits, data breaches, insider threat, cyber espionage, and so on and so on. Those which are marked as red, those could be directly taken care of with use of GFI LandGuard. So before we'll get into the more deeper understanding of these attacks and how we can help with GFI Langard, we need to understand first where are the weak points. So of course, one of the weakest points, which I'm always trying to say, is the employee, the user. This is the single weakest point in every infrastructure, and every infrastructure had this point. Then obviously the guest, there is not a huge difference between a guest and an employee. The only difference is in what permission has an employee and what permissions have the guest. Then we have the critical data locations. So all the data stores, or the hard drive, all the network storages, pretty much the devices where we are storing our data. I'm not talking only about the user data, but data in general. So invoices, recordings, mailing lists, pretty much everything what you can think of, it's valuable, and this could be stolen from you, and this is definitely located in the critical data locations. One of the most weaker points are also the unpatched servers or the workstations. Now, on this topic, I would like to mention that Windows 7 recently went end of engineering from Microsoft, which means that all the issues, all the critical vulnerabilities or security vulnerabilities which will be discovered these days in Windows 7, and I definitely believe that there will be a lot of them being discovered, as we see in the same process with Windows XP. All of these issues will not be fixed by Microsoft. So the servers, the workstation, will remain unpatched indefinitely, which make them a huge problem and a huge vulnerability in the network. But of course, we need to take a look on the wider perspective that every single device and workstation, operating system whatsoever, if there is a new version, we need to reach out to the new version. If not, then it's unpatched, and that means it's vulnerable and we have a security issue in our network. And the last point of this slide is the social engineering. The social engineering in generally is, of course, providing joy. It's providing marketing capabilities to companies, but it's also part where the humans, us, you, me, everyone who is listening, is losing their data. We are losing ourselves. We are losing our names, our employers. We are losing our business emails. We are losing all these pieces of puzzle, which of course could be used against us, and a skilled hacker can really determine from your LinkedIn or from your Facebook how to build a very successful phishing campaign against you or against your company, because he has all the needed information just from the social media. So yeah, I forgot to click, sorry about that. Common questions regarding the data access you should be able to answer. So of course, the questions, they go on and on. There are multiple questions which you can ask yourself. There is never a bad question. The only issue is that you do not have the answer for that question. So we can ask, like, for example, do employees have too much access? Do you know what software is being used? On what computers is being used? Are your users running expired software? Do you know what expired software? Are your users email protected? Can critical data be accessed over the network, over the wide area network, or the local area network? There are a lot of questions, but as I mentioned in the beginning, the questions are as important as the answers. When it comes to software vulnerabilities, there is no secret that every single software, every single operating system, everything is vulnerable. The question is, who knows about these vulnerabilities? Yeah, if they are discovered or they are not discovered. The process is, once the vulnerability is discovered by, for example, SANS or OVAL or CVE, that vulnerability will go public sooner or later. Before the vulnerability goes public, the vendor, who is pretty much the owner of the software, that means owner of the vulnerability, will be warned from this SANS, OVAL, or CVE. So basically from the entity who discovered the vulnerability. And they will be given a certain period of time, which is 2, 3, 4 weeks. And within that time, they should, or well, it kind of should be the best practices, they should be working on fixing that vulnerability. If not or yes, still the vulnerability will go public. That means that everyone will learn about those vulnerabilities. I mean, everyone, hackers and all the security companies and pretty much every single person or entity who is interested into knowing that. So that basically brings me to a question. If you are aware of all vulnerabilities in your operating system, in your applications, and in your software or devices in general? Of course not, unless you have a certain solution in place, which is able to scan the system and able to tell you exactly what and where is the problem. Yeah, unless you don't have this software at your disposal, then you are not able to know all the vulnerabilities present in your system, which eventually makes your system vulnerable and not on the needed level of security. So to avoid the breaches or to fix the vulnerabilities present in your system, you can do a lot of things. You can, for example, change settings, you can block ports, you can uninstall the application, you can do a lot of things. But of course, I'm aiming on the patching. Patching in general is able to solve majority of vulnerabilities. Of course, always when we are talking about still engineered products. On the screen, on the screen, you can see Windows 7. Yeah, and Windows 7 is definitely end of engineering. So even if you have it fully patched, it can still be vulnerable because new vulnerabilities could be discovered. And in this case, you should ask another question. If you are willing to take the risk of having an inappropriate, unsecured operating system in your network, of course, if you want to exchange it with Windows 10, it will cost some money. But at the end, you need to know if the risk of getting hacked is going to cost you more than the investment into the new operating system. 1 in 3 of businesses are basically admitting that they are using unpatched software, or they have a vulnerable software which could be still patched. But in some cases, as we know, for the SMBs, they maybe want to patch it, but the software or the operating systems, they require something called software maintenance. So until you're going to pay the vendor, you are not able to patch it. So also this is one of the reasons why businesses and especially SMBs are keeping unpatched software and unpatched application and operating systems. So the best start to prevent these attacks is identifying where they are likely to come from. Inventory what devices are on your network, as well as software and operating systems, can go a long way to prevent disasters. Identifying rogue devices is more important now than ever before. I hope you all know the word BIOD. The meaning is bring your own device. Companies are worldwide allowing employees and guests and whoever visits the company to connect their personal equipment to the company infrastructure, to company Wi-Fi, whatsoever. So all these cell phones, these tablets, these smartwatches, personal computers, laptops, a lot of devices which can essentially be connected. All of these devices are suddenly, in past few years, getting in your network. Without the management, they can bring a lot of harm to your network as well, because you can patch your systems. You can put security gateways. You can install antiviruses. You can do log management. You can do all these things, and it takes one single device, which will be brought, for example, by a daughter of your employee to your network. And if that device is hacked and it will be connected to your Wi-Fi or somehow directly to your internal network, then all the investment, all the effort was for nothing. So be very mindful when it comes to BIOD. If you allow it in your company, make a scan, make an assessment of those devices on the regular basis. Learn what those devices can bring in your network. Learn what they can do. Now let's switch gears a little to talk about the physical access and threats. Who would waste time going through a complex hack of a company's system when they can physically connect? The answer is not too many. While there are attackers out there that can get really joy that they are hacking someone and they're doing some damage, most of the hackers, they are like us. They want to find the easy way, if there was a choice, of course. So if there is a way to connect just simply something into your network socket on the wall, they will do it. They can connect, for example, a very small device, something like a Raspberry Pi with already implemented remote access application. It could be TeamViewer, of course. A lot of us know TeamViewer, but there are a lot of other applications on that on the market, so they can use whatever. And the reason why I'm telling you this, that natively a lot of firewalls and a lot of network equipment can discover TeamViewer traffic. So you can be, for example, smart, or you can at least think that by stopping or by banning TeamViewer traffic, you will not get hacked with the remote access application. But as I said, the hackers, they can use different applications. They can change ports. They can change protocols. So the issue with the rogue devices is that you can have devices which you don't know to whom they belong. You do not have any management capabilities of those devices, and they can be easily accessing your data and accessing your internet. So regular basis scans could be definitely valuable. Or of course you can think of data encryption on your storages, and of course installing some network security and antivirus on your network as well. So pretty much all the things which I mentioned till now could be covered by GFI LangGuard. GFI LangGuard, one of its main features is the patch management. Why the patch management? As I mentioned in the beginning, one of the most vulnerable part of any network is the user, yeah? So employee and the guest. So if you are taking the risk and you are keeping the patching on them, then likely they will not patch their systems. They will not patch your systems on which they are working, because as I'm sure that a lot of people on the call know, when the Windows will do this lovely pop-up that there is a new patch available or new update available, then honestly, not a lot of us will actually do the patching. Not a lot of us will do the update. The reason why is that we need to finish an email, we need to finish a call, we need to do something super urgent. So that means that we are always postponing. And if we are postponing, it's basically we are keeping the vulnerability, we are keeping the issue in our network. That's the reason why a patch management across multiple operating systems and third-party application makes sense. Because you are taking the responsibility from the user who doesn't have the time, who doesn't have the expertise, and at the end he doesn't care, and you are putting this responsibility into hand of the administrator who is there and he's paid for this job. So of course he needs to have the correct tools to do it, and the patch management is one of those tools. So then we have the vulnerabilities. As I mentioned during the slides, if the vulnerability could be already detected, if the vulnerability is known, then you are not only one who knows about it. So it's always a speed race. Who gets the vulnerability first? If you, by fixing it or getting rid of the software or changing the configuration, or the hacker, because once you know about it, it's public. And then, of course, the network devices. Yeah, we know that a lot of SMBs and a lot of big companies as well, they have some critical devices like core switches or firewalls and routers. You know, the devices which you have in your network, just few of a kind. And if those devices are vulnerable, then again, all the effort you spend on the workstations and servers goes for nothing. So pretty much the Langard have been recognized on the market, and it's one of the top 5 products offering patch management and vulnerability. And we have a very good results, very good sales across the world. It's being widely used in America, widely used in Middle East, widely used in Europe. So the Langard has its audience, and it's not only or always the SMB company. We are aiming with smaller infrastructures counting for 20, 30 workstations and servers up to several thousand in a bigger infrastructure, for example, for banks or insurance companies or health industry or even the military, because the Langard can also work in a secured network. Now let's jump into the quick Langard demo. So let me open my infrastructure. So this is a Langard installation. This has been deployed in my network. And as you can see, my network is consisting of several physical devices and several virtual machines or virtual devices. As I mentioned with the ROG devices, it is essential to know what kind of devices are located in your network. To do so, you can perform a network discovery scan, which you can see on the left side. Now I'm going to unpack all the results which have been retrieved from the network discovery, and we can see that in my system I have 2 domains. One is called the Aryan, one is called the Kachala. Then we have a work group. Then we have also other computers which are not part of the domain, and we have also mobile devices. So yes, Langard can also scan Android and iOS-based devices. Now you can see a lot of computers. Some of them has a DNS name, some of them have just a pure IP address. It depends on what kind of level of information was Langard able to retrieve, because some devices might have more information able to be revealed, some less. So let's have a look, for example, on this Darth Vader computer. What we have learned from this computer from the scan. So this is the part of the network discovery, this information. So we know the IP address, we know the MAC address, and that information could be also retrieved from firewall or router or switch. So if you are thinking that this has a very low value, then I 100% agree with you. This information is not telling you anything. What tells you something is definitely the manufacturer, model, operating system, network role, language, operating system installation date. This is information which can tell you if you are the owner of the device or not. But of course, this is just a peak of the iceberg. If we go more deeper into the same computer, we can learn, for example, what hardware is present on that computer. Yeah, what processor is being used, what motherboard is being used, what storage devices, what display adapters, local drives, a lot of things that you can learn. And this information is very valuable because it can help you to prevent any insider threat or rogue devices in your network. Of course, you can also take a look on the system information when you can see what is being shared, what kind of services are being installed, what kind of processes are running on that computer, log the users available, logged on users, groups, trusted domains, open session, or for example, what is the serial number of the operating system, what is the password policy, or the security audit policy. So all valuable information which you are not thinking about when you don't know you can get it, because you're not going to go to the computer and go through the logs. It's senseless. It will take you forever. But if you have a tool in place which is able to directly serve you this information, you can use it. And you can use this information to upgrade your security. Now, I was talking a lot about the vulnerabilities present in your system. Now, I've selected the entire network, so we will have an overview of all the vulnerabilities present in my system. As you can see, I have a couple of devices, a couple of virtual machines, and I have over 551 high security vulnerabilities. Well, the reason why I have that such a huge number is that I'm not fixing it. The reason why is that otherwise I will not be able to show you anything. So Of course, if everything will be green, then no one will believe me that Langard is capable of discovering everything. So I'm not fixing it. So that's the reason why I'm able to show you a big number of vulnerabilities and also details on those vulnerabilities. So here is the list. And for example, we can take a look now, Adobe Flash Player, something, Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. So if you take a look on the description, you can learn what this vulnerability can cause you. You can see that it's high security vulnerability. You can see when it was actually announced. So this is a very old one. So if you're going to discover an old vulnerability in your system, you should fix it right away, because it could be already being used to exploit your infrastructure and your security. You can see what product has this vulnerability, and you can also see from where we are getting this description. So this vulnerability essentially was discovered by or determined by OVAL or CVE. So these are the numbers. You can directly click on that if you want. You can check what are the affected or unaffected computers. So all of these things, and you can go through the medium security vulnerabilities, low security vulnerabilities, even firewall vulnerabilities could be determined by Langard. So in this case, Langard is able to tell you on which computers your Windows firewall is not configured or is not working at all. And it's able to fix it as well. Then you have the malware protection vulnerabilities. In this case, Langard is not taking any description. It's trying to, let's say, think for itself, and it will determine, okay, if you guys don't have any antivirus on your workstation, that is a vulnerability, because you should have a needed level of protection to stand against the attacks. Now, I was also mentioning patches, a lot of patches, and how important it is, and how important it is to take this responsibility from the users and bring this responsibility to the administrators. So, as before, Langard is able to tell you what are the missing security updates. Yeah, so all of these of operating system and third-party applications. Then we have the non-security updates, missing service packs and roll-ups, also major version updates. So we can do the anniversary updates of Windows 10, or also, of course, the version updates of different applications such as Skype, TeamViewer, Adobe, Mozilla, and so on and so on. But also we can see the already installed updates. So let's have a look, for example, how we can fix a missing update. So in this case, VirtualBox, not really. Let's try on the local host. Yeah, so here is some update for the Wireshark, which is a third-party application on the computer. So we can easily, if we are certain this is what we want, and this is the manual patching. Of course, we do have the automatic patching. So we can just easily click on the remediate. Again, we can verify if this is the correct server we want to deploy on. And then we can click on the remediate again. We'll be able to choose the time if we want, but this is, I want to do it on demand. So just click on OK, and let's have a look on the process. So currently we are going to connect to that computer, which should take, depending on the network, depending on the infrastructure and the computer itself, it should take several seconds. But if there is a problem, or for example, if the computer is offline, then of course we'll end up in an error. Let's give it a few more seconds. If not, then I'll tell you how the process looks with some completed tasks, which I did before. Okay, so let's have a look on how it should work. I mean, obviously I'm having some issue right now. So first of all, the Langard will download the needed patch. The download could be also done in advance, so you can make an automatic download. You can schedule it. You can play with the bandwidth. You can play with the rules. All these things are possible. So after the patch will be downloaded or discovered, then the Langard will connect to the target computer. It will copy the file. It will start the temporary patch agent, which will pretty much deploy the patch, install the patch, do whatever is needed to be done. And after that, it will be uninstalled. and of course Langard will verify the installation of the patch, and if it's completed, it's completed. If not, then it will not be completed, and you will end up with an error, which of course could have several reasons. For example, insufficient credentials, or some ports were blocked, and things like that. If all the ports are open which are used by GFL Langard, and if there are needed credentials, then I do not see any reason why the process should fail. So if we go back to the dashboard, the other pieces of information which could be retrieved could be definitely the information of the open ports, TCP or UDP ports. In this case, the Langard is adding a value also by telling you what is basically the process which is using these ports. Yeah, so for example, port 4500, IPsec NAT traversal. Yeah, I didn't know that, but well, apparently Langard can tell you. 138 UDP port is used for NetBIOS datagram service. So the reason why this is valuable is that in some cases you want to close those ports to keep the security on the high level. But of course, if you do not know what is being using that ports, you can also potentially make some damage. So one of the very important part of the GFI Langard is also software audit. So through the software audit, you can learn about all the applications installed in your network. You can also mark those applications to be part of the certain groups. For example, web browsers, operating systems, or remote access applications, which could be very valuable because if in your system, in your if in your company you're using VPNs, and you will discover that someone is using, for example, AnyDesk or outdated TeamViewer 8, then you can ask questions. Why in the earth you want to use remote access applications, unpatched, vulnerable remote access applications, if we are providing a secured, managed IPsec or different VPN to gain the access to the network infrastructure? So, of course, in some cases, people might not be aware of this application even being installed, as there is a threat of remote access trojans, which could be disguising as a TeamViewer or AnyDesk. So there could be a lot of reasons. The first thing is that you will have a reason to ask questions, and then you can look for the answers. Why anyone would have the AnyDesk installed on this computer? And if we have a look on the TeamViewer as well, then we can see the TeamViewer is installed on that computer as well. So that creates a lot of questions. So during the very short demo, I showed you a lot of information which you can find in Langard, like vulnerabilities, patches, open ports, software audit, hardware audit, components, system information, and so on and so on. Of course, it might be too much to process for the administrator. So for that purpose, we do have a separate capability in the Langard. The reporting is very powerful, and it's of course you have the general reports, but also you have the compliance reports, which can help you with compliance, for example, with SABR's which is an US and Canada regulation as far as I know, HIPAA, or payment card industry data security standard, or you can have also ISO 27001 as far as I remember. Yeah, here it is. So you can directly build the report here. So for example, I don't know, vulnerability distribution by host. So let's generate this report. You can also change this report in a certain way if you want, but let's have a look on how such report is looking. Of course, these reports could be scheduled. They could be saved in the predefined repository. So over the time, you can really build like a repository of the reports, which can serve as a bulletproof for any kind of audits you might have in your company. If your self audits, or for example, audits triggered by the authorities. So let's have a look on how this HIPAA vulnerability distribution by host report is looking like. So first of all, we do have 2 pages. Yeah, this report is very short. So we have how many vulnerabilities, backdoors, missing service packs, and missing security updates are there per host. So very simple, easy to swallow. So let's create some bit more complex report. So for example, antivirus applications. Let's try to do this. Each report can take a different amount of time to build. If you are, for example, making a report for a single computer, it's going to be super fast. If you are making a report for the whole network infrastructure and you're going to take, for example, the whole year or 2 years of data, then of course it will take a little bit longer. So this is a more page report. So we have the antivirus installation location. So we see that there are 3 antivirus software installations in my network. 6 computers are not having any antivirus. We can see antivirus update status and antivirus real-time protection. So also Langard can tell you if the antivirus software is configured in the correct way to offer the real-time protection. Okay, so let's just build one network security overview, or let's do patch status. So let's do one really big report so we can see what kind of data could be displayed. Of course, these reports could be created in PDF or XLS, so you can choose what formats you're going to have. Yeah, so this is going to be a definitely bigger report. So we can see the missing updates and distribution chart by severity. Then we are going by computer and operating system. So quite a lot of information. But remember, you can also always create filters. During the creation of the report, you can always go to the customize report and you can change the filter. So you can only, for example, be aiming on a certain computer or a certain operating system, or only looking for a certain vulnerability. So all this is possible. And this is pretty much all from the short demo and introduction. So now if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask. Just any questions you might ask, really. It doesn't need to be about the Langard itself. It could be, for example, by GFI or other solutions which we have in the portfolio. So if there is anything you are interested in, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, and also if anyone needs some more information, Multipoint is here in Israel, and you can contact us anytime for any information required. So I see that there are no questions by anyone. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry for the big, a little bit of a mess in the beginning, but we'll improve next time. We have this presentation as well, and if we will need anything, we'll be in touch with you.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. It was a pleasure hosting you, Joseph, and everybody else. If you have any questions, naturally you can approach us, and we'll try and deliver everything. I'm stopping the recording.